Today, we are going to talk about Simon Makallah. Simon Makallah was charged with the death of Julie Ward, and he was released for lack of evidence. I want to talk about him and other issues related to this or other cases. Today, I felt I should talk about him because from where I am standing, I believe that Julie Ward's case is gone, and it is gone forever. Unless and until people like Simon Makallah one day wakes up and feels that he should disclose it. We have cases where someone dies and his family discloses that before our father died, he had told us ABCD, and that is why we are sharing with you. He's not alone. There's a lot of people who know something about Julie Ward's case or any other. You see, anybody coming up with any case will offer three things. One, he or she will offer new evidence. Two, he or she will collaborate with what I and others have said. And three, he or she would come and contradict what me and others have said before. I like in my special branch training, we were taught that for you to get a good story, you should have a number of witnesses, not many. For example, if you get 3 witnesses, that is okay. Five witnesses is okay, even 7. But when you reach 9, 11, 13, that is not good. Why am I saying that? First of all, you may have noticed that we need 3, 5, or 7 witnesses, which means that when the story comes in 2 versions from these witnesses who do not know each other, if they give you the story of what happened and you compare, I've seen some people even inboxing me saying that why did you talk about this case, this and that, and a witness who was there has not mentioned this and that. Even if I were there, even if 2 or 3 people were there and witnessed what happened, they can never tell the same story. What we were taught at CID training school is, if you find 5 people talking exactly the same thing, most likely they know each other, most likely they have discussed, and most likely they agreed that this is what was going to happen. So things should be near, but not very near. Things should be far, but not very far. Hapo katikati tu. A good investigator would mix and match and come out, and you'd even think that the investigator was there during the event. So we were talking about Makallah. I would have wished, because he's alive and healthy, that one time he comes out. I would also have wished other people who know something about this case and other cases. You don't need to know a lot. You just need to give a sentence. And then we have those people who are expert in piling things up. They look at each and every witness and they'll come up with a proper picture. You'd have assisted the country. I got Makallah's number through the contact of John Ward. And I want to say that when I got Makallah's number, it is that when I got Makallah's number, it is not that a story like that one of a young man who was saying ati niliongea na fulani kwa simu and the young man is not ready for Safaricom to give the data. If you go to Safaricom and I give them my number and I give his number, you'll find that we have talked. We have talked several times, and this is how we used to talk, me and Makallah. I would call him. I would ring his number. It rings twice or thrice. He doesn't pick. It rings twice or thrice. He doesn't pick. Then, after, okay, initially I would give up, but I came to understand that that is his operation. Then he would later call me. He would later call me. And I would instantly discover that as I had saved his number, he had not saved my number. That is the only explanation I can give. Because imagine talking to him on the 7th time, and then after calling him, he doesn't pick. He then calls me. And one thing I saw about him is that he is somebody who, many Kenyans who talk about, if you talk so much, they say, airtime itaisha. He doesn't mind about airtime. There are those times when we cross-examine each other. You ask somebody a question, na wewe unaonaje? Even he himself asks you, and you start thinking, and you see at that time you are already wasting. At that time you are already have wasted time on air. But he does, imagine, he is the one who has paid for the call, and he doesn't seem to be a person who is caring about or somebody telling you malizia haraka, unajua simu itakatika. No, he talks to you as if he's talking one-on-one. I know somebody, and I've already seen, I must say here, I've seen the way some people are cross-examining me. Is either they are sympathetic to the people I accuse, or they are underpay on them, or even they are using that situation to befriend those people. And in Kenya, you befriend them, nilimnyamazisha, kwa hivyo utachota kitu. These people will ask, how sure are you that the person you talked to over the phone was Simon Malala? Because I've never met him one-on-one, but we have talked for several times, not less than 7 times. I can say that I know it is him because the contact in Britain, I never dealt with the late John Ward directly. No, not even once. I never dealt with him, and I never dealt with him directly. But there was somebody, a conduit that used to, but let me not talk about the conduit more. So it is that conduit from Britain that gave me Simon Makallah's phone. And from the first call I made, I just said, Abari Simon Ole Makallah, and he accepted. It was a way of finding out from the phone if it was really him. So I've never met him one-on-one, but I believe he is the one I talked to because of the number, and also the way he responded. I could feel the fear and whatever. I'll come to that. So we used to, I talked to Simon, and whenever I would call him, as I said, he would not pick the phone and he would later call me. I would start by saying, habari bwana Simon ole Makallah. He says, mzuri. And he asked me, ni nani mwenzangu? Who is this who's calling me? Imagine being on, having talked with him several times, several times, he had not even saved my name. That one thing I noticed. Another thing, we used to talk. The picture I got from the calls, he was ready to talk to me about Julie Ward's case. But when it came to the question of him being arrested and being placed in the cells, you would sense from this side of the phone that you have touched a raw deal. I can say, that I believe he was the fall guy. Or if he was not the fall guy, he was among the people, but he played a lower role, not a leading role. He played a lower role in the murder of Julie Ward. And he had come up with a good cover story. The story that he was saying was making sense and whatever. But when you mentioned that when he was arrested, between the time he was arrested and the time he was taken to court, that is when I sensed issues. He must have been tortured, and a story must have been cooked. A story must have been cooked, which they were trying to brainwash him and say, you go to court, you go to write a statement. This is what you are going to say. This is how it started. This is how it went. This is how it ended. Because he was very, you know, there are some things you make your own conclusion if you are an investigator or if you are a journalist. There are some questions you can ask, na zingine unajijazia. If at all he played a part, the killers, he's the one who used to, what do we call? Tour guide, yeah. In tourism, they call them tour guide. He must have been a tour guide. He must have been a tour guide who was used to guide the killers left, right, and center. So the only thing I can expect from him is maybe disclose those people he was tour guiding. And I suspect and I expect that he knows them, not necessarily by name, but even by description and such a thing. You see, a step in the if you point to the direction of China and you move 3 steps towards that direction, you are nearer China. Yeah, 3 steps towards China, and China is 6,000 kilometers from here. So if you look at the China direction and you move 3 steps, then you are nearing there. So by him just disclosing things, but he could talk freely. He could talk how he was working. He would talk how he was ABCD. But when it came to and whenever he used to call me and I say I'm James JI-TENGE, I know you. I've seen you on TV. I've read about you in the papers. He was very free with me. And even there's a time when Julie Ward's family had offered to get me out of here, go to Narok, and have a one-on-one discussion with him. We had not reached that time. We had not reached that time. We had gone to an extent of discussing, and I would always tell him, would you mind me coming to Narok so that I spend a weekend there? We talk, then I come back. He'd say, I don't mind, but the time has not yet come. So I believe, since Julie Ward's father is dead, I tend to believe that that is the end of the story. Unfortunately, that is the end of the story. When he died, his sons said that, you know, mm, the mother to Julie Ward died, and within 3 weeks, father to Julie Ward died. So they died around the same time. And during the father, John Ward, is the one who died later. And during the funeral of John Ward, his son said that they'll pursue and fulfill his lifelong dream. But knowing them, assessing things and whatever, I can, I have a feeling that that is the dead end. The only thing that can make the future know, the only thing that can make the future know how Julie Ward died is by those who know something more than what we know, if they come and disclose further. Otherwise, we are getting old, we are dying, we are going. It may be that is that. I also want to say that when John Ward died, I was informed immediately, within hours of his death. But I was warned that I should not disclose it, because the family is trying to come to terms. Then let the family do what? Let the family be the ones who will disclose that. And I contacted the media houses in Kenya about it. Actually, they learned from me. They learned from me that John Ward had died. But I told them that they should wait until the son, the family, until the family discloses it. We stayed for about 2 days. Then the journalist who dealt with the cases from various media houses turned back to me and asked me, "Are you sure he's dead?" Because in 2 days' time, he must have been, the family would have said. So I made my contacts and said, how comes that John Ward's death has not been announced? But then, from the minute it happened, within an hour, from the minute that the journalist confronted me by saying 2 days after he died, his death has not been announced. How comes? Then I contacted my contact in Britain, uh, Mike. Anyway, I contacted my contact in Britain and told him. I forwarded them. I forwarded the message, but not the messages. Then he sent me a link. The minute you know these things about international things, it is timed. Anything you upload on social media or the internet, whatever, it is timed. So from the time when Kenyan journalists were now starting to question me, to the time I came back with the link to show that the sons have declared that he's dead, it took less than an hour. The journalist never turned back to me to acknowledge me, either thanking me or anything. Even when they wrote in the papers, I maybe my special branch background. I want to say this, that in this world, what we were told in special CID training school, not special branch training school, but CID training school, we were taught that if you're investigating a case, it is only you and God who has not committed the offense. But Jonathan Troitich has been mentioned by many people. If you look at the way things were happening, whoever killed uh, Julie Ward was either a member of the Moi family or somebody as powerful as Biwott. And when somebody was as powerful as Biwott, If it is Biwott, if it was, no, I'm not by saying Biwott, I'm not saying Biwott himself alone, but people as powerful as him or near him. If it is a powerful person who was doing it, he may have floated Jonathan Toroitich's name to scare things. You know, in Kenya those days, anything to touching on the president and his close family was a problem. But still, even today, as I said in CID 20 school, they say you only know that you, the investigator, and God Almighty are the only two people who did not commit that a crime. So you will also believe that it is quite possible that even your CID boss who is allocating the case to you, he may himself even be the killer. And the name Jonathan comes out well because when Julie Ward was killed, it is only Jonathan Toroitich who was an adult. People, Nani was Gideon, who became notorious and who could do things such as that, was born in 1966. I think it's the same age with Ruto. So if you count 1988, that is 22 years. So he cannot be that. And then I tend to believe, and I've talked to the families of, through the third party, I've talked to the late John Ward. I do believe that the camera she had, you see, that was the time when, like today I can talk to you live, like they call it live streaming. Uh, the technology keeps on changing. So around that time, 88, 89, 90, it happened that a rumor used to come that there are some cameras in developed countries where you take a picture here and it is processed elsewhere. So she came across something, whether it was poaching, whether it was poaching, whether it was anything embarrassing, she came across. And when they saw her camera, they thought that she had taken pictures of whatever was happening and she was killed so as not to take the pictures. Of course, you can dismantle the camera, but she can still go out there and disclose what was happening. And that is what it was. So I just believe that things are going on. We may never investigate that one again, but Ole Makallah had two things. One, Ole Makallah had two things. Either he is the one who, Ole Makallah is either the one who led the people, who was, what do you call, tour leader. He was the tour leader in the National Game Reserve. And you see, his conscience also disturbs him because for a Maasai man to kill a woman, it's a real problem. But he must have been the tour leader of the killers. Lastly, people have been wondering whether the T-shirt, the WWE T-shirt that I usually don, whether it is a genuine one or whether I bought it at Gikomba or something. Well, I can authoritatively say here that the WWE T-shirt is connected to Julie Ward. I was talking to my contact, and I just said since I like wrestling, I would have wanted that T-shirt. Then I sent my size and whatever, and he bought it at the WWE headquarters and then sent it to me. It was brought to me as a parcel. And let me tell you one secret. Those T-shirts are very cheap. He bought it, I don't know, two or three what? Dollars. But the problem was now shipping that one T-shirt alone from the USA to Kenya. It's like the T-shirt I was given free. But the Julie Ward family is the one that paid for everything. I've also benefited medically and even pocket money from the John Ward family. I think most of the what do you call, most of the victims uh, are not even poor, but I would say Pius Oumamuga, before he died, he was very poor. I met him several times, and there was even a time he was he had to seek for change so as to enter matatu at railways, a matatu to Rongai. He had them saying the price, and then he told me, rush to Uchumi supermarket, rush to Uchumi railways, get the change, so that he had even known the system of you pay before entering, because he said reaching Langata barracks, the fare will be increased. He's the only person I can say a victim family that was poor. All the victims' family are well off, but I can say that up to now, Julie Ward's case is disappoints me because every step I take, one step ahead, I find myself going back 3 steps. But truth be told, I say I've just talked about the T-shirt. I've talked of various times when they have assisted me financially, and even on one occasion, I had a bill of 80,000. Two kids, so two of my kids were in school, and each one had a bill. One had 35,000, another one had 45,000, and they cleared that in one city. So the case that if I have to give myself marks, I've even seen the cases from the time up to today, and there are some cases where I give myself 80%. And this one, this Julie Ward case, I give myself 8, 0, 8. And I've not even reached 10. But when it comes to minding about my welfare and whatever, this is the only family that has gone that extra mile. I've never had a coin or anything, although we communicate regularly with those families and they appreciate what I've done. But the Julie Ward, I have to come out clean. They came out and told me, if you have any problem or whatever, you can tell us. John Ward always believed that, at first, he used to believe that I have something and I was hiding because of my security. But when he saw me dealing with more serious cases, repercussion, he believed that up to the time he died, he believed that at least somebody like Simon Olekena would be free to talk to me. Uh, by trying to say these families that have assisted me in one way or another, it's not that it's just because I'm telling the truth. Otherwise, it would be unfair for me to have used my position or anything to gain through an unfortunate cases, and most unfortunate because the people died in painful deaths. But then I'd be I'd be unfair if I did not include the Robert Ouko family. Robert Ouko family, I've not gained anything from Robert Ouko family up to this time, but I'm grateful to them. And this is what happened. When Christabella Ouko died, I went to this church, Christ is the answer, for the funeral service. And where I was seated, somebody came and picked me and directed me to Ken. He introduced me to Ken. Of course, Ken knew me, said that this is Lando. We greeted each other. And then after greeting, you know, he's mourning his mother. So you even don't know what to say and how to start it. So this fellow took me out of the church, whispered to me, said that the family appreciates what I've done, especially the dangers that I've faced. Then he told me that the family would want to know of any issues I had, any problems, and anything they can assist. I just said that the only problem I had was my kid. My kid had school fees issues, and two, one of them had been poisoned. One of them, actually, the one called Lando, he had been poisoned, and even as I'm recording now, he has never recovered completely. So he was on special meals in school, and apart from school fees, we had to look for some money. Then he said, "Can you give us time after burying Mama? Then we will address that issue. Your kid will never have problems with fees. Your kid will never, your kid will never have problems with school fees. Your kid's special diet will be looked into. Special diet will be looked into." And the special diet was this way: that the hospital gives out the list of what the kid is supposed to eat. Then the school prepares that meal differently. Now for the two boys, because how can you take the elder boy to be having a special meal in school and his follower it's like the others? So it is the school used to say that he's keeping him company and we could buy double special meal. So this fellow told me to give them at least 40 days. Then he gave me, he's a cousin to Ken and a nephew to, he's a cousin to Ken on the mother side, on the Christabella side. So he gave me the number. You know, you make, he asks you your number, you tell him, he rings you, and then you save the number. He took my number, he called me. When he called me, I saved that number. So leaving that place, reaching home, I found I had no phone. If you ask me, I think NIS picked it. That is the only explanation I can say. NIS picked the phone and the number disappeared. That is so. If if the phone would not have been stolen, I would be putting. Not that okay. I know the other families are whatever. Not that I'm tired. In fact, it is inhuman to insist that they look into whatever. And whenever we meet, I'm more interested in them, their lifestyle, whatever, because you may have everything that you want, but the absence of one member of the family is painful, especially if he or she died in the way that happened. If it is a normal death or anything, then we understand. So that is my comments on Simon Ole Makallah. Thank you.